Shalom, shalom, Israel. It's Brother Araya. And today we're going to continue on the Isaiah 53, the three-part series of Isaiah 53, who is it talking about. We have covered the first video. It's been uploaded. It is live on YouTube now. And we have proved that the servant is Israel. We've covered verses 1 and 2. And today we're going to go the rest of them. It's going to be a pretty long video, so it's probably be an hour. But I guarantee you and I promise you that if you stay tuned to the whole entire video, without a shadow of a doubt, I will prove to you that Israel is the servant, okay, and that Isaiah 53 is speaking about Eleazar, descendant of Aaron, that lived during Antiochus Epiphanes' time, okay? All the prophecies in the book of Daniel are about majority of the prophecies in the book of Daniel are about the Greeks coming into the land and the destruction that they're going to bring and cause. And we're going to prove that Isaiah 53 is talking about Israel as the servant, and then that one particular is going to be righteous and is going to die, be pierced, and etc. Doing for his generation, not all generations, but only his particular generation. And I'm going to prove to you that it was Eleazar Maccabeus, the son of Matthias Maccabeus, um, descendant of Aaron, the Levite. Okay, so we're going to prove those things. We're going to prove that today, and as you said, the other video is right here. The undeniable proof who Isaiah 53 is. The part 1. This will be part 2. I may break it down to part 3, but I'm gonna try to get everything in part 2. Okay, but bear with me. It will be a long video, but it will be undeniable proof that Isaiah 53 is speaking and talking about who it is talking about. Okay, so therefore, we prove all things by Deuteronomy 19 and 15. Prove all things with 2 or 3 witnesses. And let's get that real quick. Deuteronomy 19 and 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. So everything that you say you can prove in the Torah, you should have 2 or 3 witnesses to back that up, okay? Now, I'm going to continue on proving that Israel is the servant, because I've already proved who the arm of the Most High is. I already proved that who the arm of the Lord is. I already proved who the report is and who it was given to. Right? So now it's to go through the rest of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, and we'll continue to do that. Okay? So we're right here at verse 3 on down. So now I'm about to prove to you guys that Israel and the Most High is synonymous. Okay? I've already proved to you that Israel is the plant in verse 2 right here. And it was the he right here in verse 2, but in verse 3 it switches up to talk about that one that is going to be an example for his generation. Okay, that's all that it's saying that there's going to be one that's going to rise up. It's going to be one particular servant out of all the servants is going to rise up and be an example for his particular generation. That's exactly what Isaiah 53 is saying. Okay, but before we go on to prove that, let me prove that Israel and the Most High is synonymous. If you touch Israel, then you are touching the Most High. You hate Israel, you hate the Most High. Why? Because Israel is married unto the Most High, and when a man marries a woman, they become one flesh. So what is done unto the woman is also done unto the man. What is done unto the man is also done unto the woman. That is the concept of the one flesh. So that is the same thing, and I'm going to prove to you that the Most High and Israel are synonymous and one. So I'm going to prove that real quick, right? And then I'm going to show you that everything else, from the piercing, the afflictions, to the wounded for the transgressions, to the stripes, to being beaten with stripes, all that is Eleazar Maccabeus. And we're going to prove that later. That'll be towards the end of the video, end of the video. Right? So we're going to go and prove that the Most High and Israel are synonymous. So Exodus 23 and 22. I'm going to read verse 22, and it goes. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies and an adversary unto thy adversaries. So here the Most High is saying that your enemies will be my enemies, because we are one. You are married to me. We are under a covenant. So your enemies are my enemies, your friends are my friends. What is done unto you is done unto me. And what is done unto me is done unto you. All right, so now we're going to go to Numbers 24 chapter. We're going to read verse 9. He crouched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion. Who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blessed thee, and cursed is he that cursed thee. All right? Most High says that those that hate you gonna curse you, so they're gonna be cursed. Those that love you, they're gonna bless you, and they will be blessed. All right? So Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thy enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee. Right? So we just read in Exodus, right, that he will be an enemy and an adversary to your enemies and adversaries, right? But here he goes on and says that he will, those that hate you and persecute you, he will do the exact same to them. Why? Because Israel and the Most High is synonymous. They are one and the same. Okay? They are one and the same. Right? Now, there's plenty more verses. I can go to Zechariah and show him where the Most High says that he that touches him is the apple of his eye. Zechariah chapter 2, verse 8. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. Right? So there you go, brothers and sisters. There are 3 or 4 verses, just a few verses that I have shown you where the Most High is talking about, where Most High is synonymous with Israel, okay? Everything that he says is synonymous with Israel, so if you touch Israel, you're touching the Most High, vice versa, right? So there's the proof that Israel and the Most High is synonymous, right? Okay, now we're going to go to the proof and prove where it says that the nations hate the Most High, okay? And we're going to go to Psalms, the book of Psalms, and we're going to start off with Psalms 83, which everybody knows, okay? Let me find it real quick. There it is, Psalms 83. And we're going to read 2 through 8. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up thy head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacle, and then it goes and talks about who had did it, right? And we just read before that you know that he's going to persecute those that persecute us, and hate those that hate us, right? So we're gonna stay in the book of Psalms. We're gonna go to 2 verse 1, right? It says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? They rage because you have the laws of the Most High, and they imagine vain things because they imagine all kinds of stuff to make Israel stumble, trip, and fall backward and backslide." Okay. Now. That's enough. That's just enough because I want to make sure that I can include the meat and potatoes of this video of Eleazar being the suffering servant. So we are going to. I had a whole bunch more verses, but I'm going to skip over those because I did this video, a whole hour and 15 minutes of this video, and I covered everything, got everything in there, and realized that my mic wasn't on. So now I'm making a shorter video. Okay. So now we're fixing to go and see about Israel being the suffering servant, right? We want to see what Melech Solomon said, okay? But before we go there, we're going to go to Deuteronomy. We're going to go to the 3rd chapter to see what Moses said. Deuteronomy 3rd chapter, verse 24. Hear, O Lord God, thou hast begun to show thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might. So right here, Moses is giving supplication to the Most High because Moses was the servant of the Most High at that time, right? And and another thing right here, it says, who in heaven or earth can do what the Most High does according to his works? Another indication that Jesus, Yahshua, Yahushua, another slap in his face. Okay, now let's go to 1 Kings and see what King Solomon said. 1 Kings, the 8th chapter, we're going to read verses 22 to 27. Now, 1 Kings, 8th chapter, verse 22. And Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord, and in the presence of all the congregation of Israel, spread forth his hands toward heaven. And he said, Lord, God of Israel, there is no God like thee, in heaven or above on earth beneath, who keepeth covenant and mercy with thy servants, plural, that walk before thee with all thy heart, who has kept with thy servant David, my father. Now we see that not only a prophet can be a servant, but the king is also a servant of the Most High. My father, that thou promised him, thou spakest also with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thy hand, as it is this day. Therefore now, Lord God of Israel, keep with thy servant David my father, that thou promised him, saying, Thou shalt not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, so that thy children take heed to their way, that they walk before me, as thou hast walked before me. And now, O God of Israel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant, again, servant David my father. But will God indeed dwell on earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have builded? Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Lord my God, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee today. So, kings can be a servant just as well as prophets, right? So let's go on down, same book, same chapter, go down to verse 52. That thy eyes may be open unto thy supplication of thy servant, and unto the supplication of thy people Israel, to hearken unto them in all that they call for unto thee. Right? Still in this book of 1 Kings, we go to chapter 11 now. We're going to read verse 36. And unto his son will I give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen to put my name there. Right? Now, y'all saying, okay, well, you proved that a prophet can be a servant. You proved that the king can be a servant. But where does it say that Israel is the servant? Well, I got you right here. Right here. We're going to go to Psalms 105 and verse 6. If I can get my mouse over there we go. Psalms 105, verse 6. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, you children of Yaqubah, his chosen. Still not good enough for you? Let's go to Psalms 136 and 22. And this right here should cement it. Even in heritage unto Israel, his servant, for his mercy endureth forever. Now let's go to the prophets, Isaiah. Let's see what Isaiah said. We're going to go to Isaiah, the 41st chapter, and we're going to look at verse 8. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Yaqubah, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. And we're going to stay in the book of Isaiah. We're going to go to verse 9. To whom I have taken from the ends of the earth, and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, Thou art my servant. I have chosen thee, and not cast thee away. Jeremiah has more to say, because when you go to the 43rd chapter, Isaiah has more to say. As you go to the 43rd chapter of Isaiah, and you read verse 1, it says, But now thus saith the Lord, that created thee, O Yaqub, and have formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by my name, thou art mine. Right? So, and we're going to go to 44. 44 and 1. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, in Israel, whom I have chosen. Scroll on down to verse 21 of the 44th chapter. Remember these, O Yaqub and Israel, for thou art my servant. Remember these, O Yaqubah and Israel, for thou art my servant. I have formed thee. Thou art my servant, O Israel. Thou shalt not be forgotten of me. The Most High is telling you twice here that you are the servant. And he goes on someone to say that you are my servant and reiterates that you are my servant, so much so that he goes on to say that I have not forgotten you. I have not forgotten you. You are my servant. You will always be my servant, and you will forever be my servant, Israel. That is the covenant that I have made with your forefathers. Now, staying in the book of Isaiah, let's go to chapter 45 and verse 4. For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect. I have called thee by name, I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So what is the surname of Israel? El, God. El, Israel, El. Means to wrestle with God. Israel wrestles with God. Israel. That is the surname. Okay? So now, I have given you proof, according to Deuteronomy 19 and 15, that Israel is the servant of the Most High, that prophets are the servants of the Most High, and that kings are the servants of the Most High. Okay? Now, let's go in here to improve that Isaiah 53 was speaking about Eleazar Maccabees, the son of Matthias Maccabees, during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay? So we, in the first video, we've covered verse 1 and 2, and I'm going to read verses 3 on down to 12. And then we're going to go into the book of the Maccabees and see exactly why and how, and the proof that Elias was the suffering servant that was bruised by stripes and that was pierced. Okay, we're going to prove that, and that he was pierced for his generation of lawless Israelites that followed after the heathen and went and did things in the gymnastics and went and joined themselves unto the heathens in the land. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get Isaiah 53, verses 3 through 12. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it was our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and whom shall declare his generation? All right, so right here is proof right here. Who shall declare his generation? Whose generation? The generation about who this chapter is talking about. It's this generation and this generation only, because it doesn't have plural. It doesn't say generations. It doesn't have any future generations. It doesn't have anything. And when you look at generation, that word is door, and it means that is an age, a generation, right? For he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. Because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days. And the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied by his knowledge. Shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Okay? So that was Isaiah 53. So now, let's go into and read about the Maccabees. So let's read a little bit about Maccabees. Hold on just a second. Let me get something to drink, as my mouth is thirsty. Hold on just a second. All right. So now, who was Eleazar? Eleazar was a Jewish martyr who died during the persecution of Judaism in Judea, ordered by King Antiochus Epiphanes. Together with a woman of 7 sons, he is one of the holy Maccabean martyrs, celebrated by the Roman Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, etc. The main source of information about Eleazar is the book 2, Maccabees, although a variant account of someone named Eleazar is found in Maccabees 3. So it says here, according to 2 Maccabees 6, Eleazar was an elderly and respected scribe. As part of the persecution, Jews were forbidden from keeping Jewish dietary law. To break the practice, leading members of the community were required to publicly engage in performance of pork eating. Eleazar was expected to do such a public performance. Some of his friends suggested he arranged to have some false meat ready, validity prepared under Jewish law, so that Eleazar could appear to be breaking the law, yet not truly break it. Eleazar sharply rebuked his friends and refused the offer. However, wishing to avoid even the appearance of breaking Jewish law, he did not wish for young Jews to think that Eleazar had gone over to a foreign religion, merely to live a brief while longer and defile and disgrace my old age. Instead, he dramatically spits out the food. As a result, Eleazar is dragged off to a torture device. There he is tortured to death, but dies as an example of courage. Dies as an example of courage. Right? The depiction of Eleazar's death bears some similarities, etc. Let's see here. Due to a variety of reasons, 2 Maccabees was kept as part of the Septuagint, a collection of Jewish scriptures in Greek that became the basis for the Christian Old Testament. And that is why they took it out, because they wanted to push that Jesus, Yeshua, etc. So let's go ahead and read in 1 Maccabees about Eleazar, okay? And proof that, so right here, and we have the proof, 1 Maccabees, where it says, where the king came and said, yes, many Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath, for the king had sent letters to messengers to Jerusalem and to the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice, etc. That the children should be uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanations, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, and to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinance. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said, he should die. Right? So this is right here what it was just said, what we just read here in Wiki, right? About them Israelites joining. So this is proof right here in 1 Maccabees that Israelites had joined unto the heathen, start doing the heathen, doing their customs, right? And what does Isaiah 53 says? He was bruised for our, he was oppressed and afflicted, yet he opened up not his mouth. He was from judgment, he was gone astray. For we like sheep have gone astray. So right there, right here, Isaiah 53 and 6 is being fulfilled right here. When it says, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. Right? Okay, so you have Isaiah 53 and 6 being fulfilled right here in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verses 49 all the way through 64. Okay, now when you go to chapter 2, it says right here, here's the rise of the Maccabees. All right, Eleazar's father, Matthias. Let's read it. In those days arose Matthias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Uriab, from Jerusalem. Uriab is Medina. I think it's Medina. Is what we call Uriab. It's modern day Medina in Saudi Arabia. From Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. Modin is Mecca, is modern day Mecca, I think. And he had 5, and I could be wrong with that. He had 5 sons: Johanan, called Cadis, Simeon called Thassi, Judas, who was called Maccabeus, Eleazar called Avaran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphius. So we are going to talk about Eleazar, son of Matthias, son of Simeon, the priest. Right? And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, woe is me. Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city. Right? And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. Then Matthias and his sons, including Eleazar, rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourned very sore. Now, keep in mind, Eleazar is brother to Judas Maccabeus. Okay? So he is a Maccabees as well. He is brother to Judas Maccabeus, he is brother to Simeon Maccabeus, and he is son of Matthias Maccabeus. Okay? Now, let's go in here and read about Eleazar. Now in verse 49, the time drew near that Matthias should die. He said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, and the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be you zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall you receive great honor and an everlasting name. What does it say down here? Therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. And he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressor. Okay? And they're getting instructions from the fire Matthias, who was the high priest at the time. Right? And he tells them, give your lives for the covenant of your father. Now, let's go down here and see what Eleazar did. Okay, what happened to Eleazar? So all this was in First Maccabees. So now we're going to go to Second Maccabees, right? Second Maccabees, chapter 6. And let's see here. Where is it at? I had it. Just had it. It's on down here. I know. Where is Eleazar? There it is. Verse 18. Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 18. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. What does it say? It says that he was brought as a lamb to the slaughter, yet he opened not his mouth. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. So he had it in his mouth, and he spit it out. He remembered what his father Matthias said, and he spit it out. And he brought his own self to be tormented, because he wasn't going to be tormented at first, but he spit it out, and he remembered the covenant, he remembered the forefathers, he remembered his father Matthias, and his brethren. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come. Now, right here it says he came on his own accord, right? What does Isaiah 53 say? He was despised, he was rejected, he bore our griefs, and all that stuff, right? But they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with him. So his friends who was in charge of the feast took him aside and besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to eat, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king, that in doing so he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as become his age, and the excellence of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by God. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to disassemble, whereby many young people might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 10, were now gone to a strange religion. And so that through my hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me. And I get stained to my old age and make it abominable. So what Eleazar is saying here is that, no, I refuse to eat and partake of the swine flesh. I refuse to eat my own food and make it seem like I'm eating of the swine flesh, because it will make the youth and make everybody else backslide and trip and fall and be ensnared. Because they will be able to say, well, Eleazar, the respected Levite, he ate it, so we shall follow suit. That's what he's saying here. For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive or dead. So here he's telling you, say whether I'm living on this earth or dead on this earth, I'm not going to escape the hand of the Almighty for breaking his laws of eating swine flesh. So I would rather die on this earth and have no stains on my garment when I go stand before the Most High. They that led him, changing the good, will they bear him a little before into hatred, because they for said speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, again, you died with stripes, for he was oppressed and bruised with stripes, and upon him and with his stripes we are healed. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Now, we just read that his friends were eating the sacrifice of the king's swine flesh. And they compelled him to eat it. So much so they said, well, fake eat it. Just go home, get some lamb, cook it up, and pretend that it came from the king's sacrifice so that you may live. And he said, no. Right? So his friends were in transgression. They were in transgression of Leviticus chapter 11. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Lord that hath the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in my body by being beaten. But in soul am well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. So he told you, say, yeah, it hurts. My body hurts. The pains hurts. But my soul doesn't hurt because I'm afraid of the Most High. And thus this man died, leaving his death as an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all Israel. So was he not the suffering servant? So, to get even more further into it, we shall go into 4th Maccabees, which is in the Septuagint, and we shall read about Eleazar, and we shall read more into depth. We shall read that Eleazar was pierced by the spear bearers. Now let's go ahead and read this. We are in 4th Maccabees, the 5th chapter, and we are going to read verses 1 through 10. 1 through 10, 1 through 18 probably. The tyrant Antiochus, therefore, sitting in a public state with his assessors upon a certain lofty place, with his armed troops standing in a circle around him, commanded his spear bearers to seize every one of the Hebrews, and to compel them to taste swine's flesh and offer things offered to idols. And should any of them be unwilling to eat the accursed food, they were to be tortured on the wheel and so killed. And when many had been seized, a foremost man of the assembly, a Hebrew by the name of Eleazar, a priest by family. Why? Because we went here into Maccabees, and what did it say? It was the son of Matthias, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Uribe. Okay? So it's lining up with everything. By profession, a lawyer, right? What does Isaiah 53 say? Isaiah 53 and I think it is Isaiah 53 and 9. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death. So he was a lawyer when he died. Are lawyers rich? Right? But yet he was around, his friends were wicked. Why was his friends wicked? Because they were partaking in the king's sacrifice and eating of the swine's flesh, which we read in 2 Maccabees, right here, chapter 6, verses 18 through 31. So let's get back to 4th Maccabees, the 5th chapter. By profession a lawyer and advanced in years, and for this reason known to many of the king's followers, was brought near to him. And Antiochus, seeing him, said, I would counsel thee, O man, before thy tortures begin, to taste the swine's flesh, and save your life. For I feel respect for your age and hoary head, which since you have had so long, you appear to me to be no philosopher in retaining the superstition of the Jews. For wherefore, since nature has conferred upon you the most excellent flesh of this animal, do you loathe it? It seems senseless not to enjoy what is pleasant, yet not disgraceful, and from notions of sinfulness to reject the boons of nature. And you will be acting, I think, still more senselessly if you follow vain conceits about the truth. And you will moreover be despising me to your own punishment. Will you not awake from your trifling philosophy and give up the folly of your notions and regaining understanding worthy of your age? Search into the truth of an expedient course. And reverencing my kindly admonition, have pity upon your own years. For bear in mind that if there be any power which watches over this religion of yours, it will pardon you for all transgressions of the law which you commit through compulsion. While the tyrant incited him in this manner to the unlawful eating of flesh, Eleazar begged permission to speak. And having received power to speak, he began thus to deliver himself. And so he goes on to make a speech in verses 18 on down, 18 through 38. But we are going to go to the next chapter because it ends on 30. The fifth chapter ends at verse 38. So we're going to go to the next chapter and we're going to get into the punishment. So I'm going to go ahead and prove that he was speared, pierced, and all that because we're at 36 minutes now. Some of y'all have a short attention span. If you made it this far, then it is obvious that the Most High wanted you to learn and to see this truth. Okay. So when Eleazar had in this manner answered the exhortations of the tyrant, the spear bearers came up and rudely hauled Eleazar to the instruments of torture. And first they stripped the old man, adorned as he was with the comeliness of piety. Then tying his arms and hands, they disdainfully used him with stripes. Okay. So Isaiah 53 and 5. But he was wounded for our transgressions. We have already proved that his friends were transgressing the law of the covenant of Leviticus 11. And he was bruised for our iniquities. Because all the certain Israelites in 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and chapter 2, it tells you that certain Israelites had joined themselves to the heathen to do exercises, to learn gym, to take in the feast. Okay? The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we were healed. And I'm going to prove that with Eleazar's stripes, the sins of Israel was taken away because he asked for that before he died. And we're going to read him in his own words. We're going to read him say that in his own words. So they tied him, and they disdainfully used him with stripes. A herald opposite crying out, "Obey the commands of the king." But Eleazar, the high-minded and truly noble, as one tortured in a dream, regarded it not at all. But raising his eyes on high to heaven, the old man's flesh was stripped off by scourges, and his blood streamed down, and his sides were pierced through. Doesn't it say, and they will look on me whom they have pierced? And they will look upon me who they have pierced. They will look upon me for whom they have pierced. That's Eleazar being pierced. That is Eleazar being pierced right there. Do you see it? Here's the proof. It is the proof. And they took this out of your books, brothers and sisters, because if they left this in here, they could not be pushing the demigod and the idol. They would not be able to separate you from your God Israel. Keep in mind, the Greeks took our books. In the Old Testament, you have Baalim, son of Beor. You have the king of Moab coming to Baalim, asking them to curse Israel, to afflict Israel. And what did Baalim, son of Beor, tell them? In order to win against Israel, you have to separate them from their God. So everybody that has took out our books, they have read our books, they have searched diligently, and they have come to the understanding. They see the pattern. Separate Israel from their God, you will be able to conquer them. Do not separate Israel from their God, they will conquer you. Now, back to 4th Maccabees. And falling upon the ground from his body, having no power to support the pains, he yet kept his reasoning upright and unbending. Then one of the harsh spear bearers leaped upon his belly as he was falling to force him upright. But he endured the pains and despised the cruelty, and persevered through the indignities. And like a noble athlete, the old man, when struck, vanquished his torturers. His countenance sweating, and he panting for breath, he was admired by the very torturers for his courage. Wherefore, partly in pity for his old age, partly from the sympathy of acquaintance, and partly for in admiration of his endurance, some of the attendants of the king said, Why do you unreasonably destroy yourself, O Eleazar, with these miseries? We will bring you some meat cooked by yourself. And do you save yourself by pretending that you have eaten swine's flesh? So he is being tortured so bad, after being pierced in the side, after being scored with stripes so bad that his skin is falling off, that they started to feel bad for him. And they said, listen, we'll bring you your own meat. Just cook your own meat the way that you want it and eat it. Just so you can stop these miseries. And what did Eleazar say? He cried out, and Eleazar, as through the advice more painfully tortured him, cried out, Let us not, who are the children of Abraham, be so evil advised as by giving away to make use of an unbecoming pretense. For it were irrational if, having lived up to old age in all truth, and having scrupulously guarded our character for it, we should now turn back, and ourselves should become a pattern of impiety to the young, as being an example of pollution eating. It would be disgraceful if we live on some short time, and that scorned by all men for cowardice, and be condemned by the tyrant for unmanliness, but not contending to the death for our divine law. Wherefore do you, O children of Abraham, die nobly for your religion? Ye spear bearers of the tyrant, why do ye linger? Beholding him so high-minded against misery, and not changing in their pity, they led him to the fire. Then with their wickedly contrived instruments, they burnt him on the fire, and poured stinking fluids down into his nostrils. And he, being at length burnt down to the bones, and about to expire, raised his eyes up towards God, and said, now this is imperative right here, right? Because it says right here in Isaiah 53, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was brought to the land of the swallow. He was taken from prison and from judgment, right? He made his grave with the wicked and the rich, right? It pleased the Lord to bruise him, right? It says that he was numbered with the transgressors and bare the sins of many, right? Specifically verse 12, we're about to see him, Eleazar, son, descendant from Adon, the Levite. We want to see him bear the sins. We're going to see him say the prayers right before he gives up the ghost. And we are going to see him ask the Most High for his blood to atone for the wickedness that our forefathers and the wickedness that his generation was doing when Antiochus Epiphanes took over the land. Okay? So now, right here, we are at verse 26. I'm going to read that again. And he, being at length burnt down to the bones and about to expire, raised his eyes Godward and said, Thou knowest, O God, that when I might have been saved, I am slain for the sake of the law by tortures of fire. Be merciful to thy people, and be satisfied with the punishment of me on their account. Let my blood be the purification for them, and take my life in recompense for theirs. Thus speaking, the holy man departed, noble in his torments, and even to the agonies of death, resisted in his reasoning for the sake of the law. Confessedly, therefore, religious reasoning is master of the passions. So Eleazar, son of Matthias, magnified the Most High's name. He gave glory to the Most High, and he magnified the Most High's name in front of all the heathen. How did he do that? But because he was facing death, and before he gave up the ghost, what did he do? He called out to he looked up to the Most High. He called out to the Most High and said, let my blood be the purification for them. Take my life in recompense for those evil, wicked Israelites who are following after Antiochus Epiphanes, who are eating the swine flesh, who are going to the gyms that are set up in Jerusalem, who are following after the commandments of the evil king of the abomination of desolation, who stood in the holy place, Antiochus Epiphanes, who sacrificed abominable things of swine's flesh and sacrificed unto idols in the holy of holies, and forbade it, and made a law forbidding any Jew to be a Jew, and made a law forbidding Israelites to circumcise their children. Eleazar, he is the one that Isaiah 53 speaks about. It is not that idol, Christ. It is not that idol, Yehoshua. It is not that idol, Yahweh Shai. Okay? It is Eleazar, son of Maccabeus, brother to Judas Maccabeus, brother to Simeon Maccabeus, and descendant of Aaron, descendant of Levi. So come up out of her, Israel. I've given you two videos proving that Isaiah 53 is not talking about Jesus. It's not talking about any New Testament deity. Okay? And I challenge you to prove this otherwise. And then we could go on. We could talk about the seven sons and their mother that was killed right after Eleazar, because Eleazar knew and understood, me being honorable and noble, me being a Levite, a descendant from Aaron, me being knowledgeable, even if I pretended to eat the swine's flesh, I will cause Israel to fall backward and backslide, to stumble into error, and their sin shall be upon me. He even knew that. So therefore he made an example. Himself was an example for the rest of Israel, and it gave the what's the word I'm looking for? The wherewithal for his brother Judas Maccabeus to continue the revolt, to start the revolt and to continue the revolt and to overthrow the Greeks until the Romans came in. Okay? So, that is my take on Isaiah 53. And if you understand what was presented, the information that was presented, or you feel like it has been broken down to where you couldn't understand it, then please leave a comment. Please share the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you can get notified of another video as soon as it drops. And subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends. Spread this around, Israel. It's time to come out of the idolatry. No more idolatry, Israel. No more. Okay? He said, you shall worship gods of wood and stone. If you need proof, go to Deuteronomy and Exodus. And as always, if you're not saying the Shema, you should be saying the Shema. It is proof in the Shema that the Most High is one and not a duality or a trinity. It's Deuteronomy 6:4-10 is the Shema. And if you don't know it, you can just say verse 4. But Shema Yisrael Hashem Alakanu Hashem Echad. Barakatah Hashem. Barakatah Eloheinu. Peace.